Hello to everyone from a late summer night here on the East Coast. Um, as far as the practice goes that I'm going to be discussing and we're going to be getting into, it's going to be the mindfulness of the breath, or being mindful of the breath. Simple as I can possibly make it, and I can possibly put it, is just continuing to bring our awareness back to the breath over and over again. As far as just a quick overview of the practice and the view of the practice, or the foundation that the practice is built off of, it's the view that we really don't need to get or gain or obtain anything, in the sense that everything I want, I already have. And what I mean by that is that a lot of times, in my own experiences included in this, is that I want to be compassionate, I want to be kind, and I want to be able to do these things and live a life like I see other people living, in a sense that I see people living really good, peaceful, contented lives. And I can't seem to just be able to will these things into existence. And my experience is that these are things that already exist inherently inside of me, but they just need to be cultivated. In that I don't need to go anywhere to get compassion. I'm not really able to buy it anywhere. I can't buy peace as much as I've tried. But these are things that seem to just generally come out the longer that I practice this. And like I said, the practice is just simply being mindful of the breath over and over and over again, coming back to it over and over again. And what I found, at least, is that the more I come back to it, is the more I come back to life. The more I come back to the present moment, because I believe that's where the life and reality exist, is we're coming back to reality over and over again. So let's get into the actual practice itself. As far as posture goes, we can talk about it in two different ways, and I'll describe it if you're sitting either on a cushion or a meditation mat of some sort, or you're sitting in a chair. So if you are sitting on a meditation mat or a cushion, I advise that it's best to be able to sit so that your knees are touching the cushion, and this applies to if you're kneeling as well, if you're using a bench or if you're using a cushion to kneel on. To be able to sit in a position, whether it be half lotus or the Burmese position, to be able to sit in one of these positions where your knees are able to touch the mat and your hips are slightly elevated above your knees. And when this was first described to me, it was explained that this is really it's not meant to be an exercise in how long we can sit in these positions. More, it's meant to be a facilitator of groundedness, in a sense that this posture helps facilitate a sense of groundedness and connectedness to the spot that we're in. And I've experienced both ends of the spectrum, where I've tried to sit for a long time in an unbalanced position, as opposed to trying to sit in a more balanced position, and I felt that. I felt the ability to feel more connected and grounded with the space that I'm in. And if you are sitting in a chair, I would advise that it would be a chair that you're able to firmly plant your feet on the ground. In doing that, I found that it creates the same feeling of connectedness and groundedness to the space that you're in. And as far as posture goes, more specifically, I've always enjoyed the analogy of feeling like a string was attached to the crown of my head, and that string slowly pulls your spine fully erect to where you're sitting completely upright. And you can try it either way. You can try it to where you're hunched over, and you can feel the inability of the breath to flow completely through you, as opposed to sitting fully erect and upright. And you can experience and feel the breath more freely flow through the body when you do that. So it's good, my experience at least, is it's good to try these things on both ends of the spectrum, to see how one may work and how one may not work for you so well. As far as the hands, you can put your hands either on your thighs or whatever position feels most comfortable to you. As far as the tongue, I place the tip of my tongue on the roof of the mouth. And as far as the eyes, the view of this practice, in a sense, is that we're not trying to disconnect from reality, correct? We're trying to come back to reality. We're trying to come back to the present moment. So that's why it's best to keep the eyes open in that sense. We're trying to be able, the whole goal of this, the way I see it, is to be able to bring this practice into our daily lived experience, right? So we're not trying to shut ourselves off from our daily lived experience. We're trying to connect fully to our daily lived experience. And if this practice isn't unable to do that, and that's been my constant MO, if I'm practicing something that's not really able to benefit me in my daily life, I don't really see much use for it. But that's just me. So as far as the eyes, like I said, the best way that I found to do it is I let my eyes slowly go out of focus. And as I let my eyes slowly go out of focus, and yours do the same, you let your eyelids slowly begin to close. It's best to look about 3 inches in front of you and to keep that position. You can feel whatever point of your body you'd like to focus on as far as the breath moving through it. The spot that I usually go to is the back of the throat. It's where I'm able to most feel the breath come in and out of my body. And that may be different for you. You may be able to feel the breath more fully at a different point of your body. You may feel it come into the nose and go out of the nose more fully than you do at the back of the throat. You may feel it in the diaphragm or the chest in a way that you're not able to feel it in the back of the throat. But the best thing to do is do it and find out what works for you. The activity of this practice, the best way I can describe the activity of this practice is probably from a short story that I really just encountered the other day. We're currently working on a job where it's me and about 3 other guys, and we're working on a deck, and we're building a 2-story deck, and it's a lot of wood involved and a lot of stairs involved. And me and another guy had both made a mistake, a pretty not so serious mistake, but one that was taking some time to rectify. So when I went home that day, I had thought about that mistake, but the practice of being mindful of the breath, I would start to think about the mistake. The mind would start to continue to play this storyline of how I was so stupid. I can't believe I fired this nail in. If I was an inch over, I would have completely avoided the whole situation, and we wouldn't have to go through fixing this whole thing. And I would start to see, these storylines playing out in my mind. But all the practice is seeing this, being aware that you're away from the present moment, and coming back to the breath. That's it. And when I got in work the next day, I was talking to another one of the guys on the job, and he had made a fairly serious mistake in that he had to undo a lot of the work that was already done in putting the stairs up. And he had mentioned to me that he was unable to stop thinking about the mistake that he made at work the previous day, and that he was unable to sit and have a conversation with his wife because he was unable to be present in the moment because he was so consumed with the mistake that he made, and he just was unable to stop. He was unable to stop the train of thoughts that were going through his mind as a result of being unable to come back to the present moment. And I had to laugh because I've experienced this so much as a result of having the inability to come back to the breath and being mindful of the present moment. And I did joke with him in saying that I spent a little bit of time the next morning because I woke up and the first thing I thought about was the mistake that I made and how I was going to have to rectify it. And all I could think about while I was making my coffee in the morning was how I was going to fix this mistake and the different ways I was going to have to go about doing this. And I sat in my mindfulness practice. I'm mindful of the breath for about 30 minutes every morning. And I sat and I got into the posture and I did the practice. And I was able to continue to go about my morning after the practice was over. And I was able to enjoy a nice ride into work. And I was able to listen to music and enjoy my coffee. And I wasn't able to do that for a long time. So the result, we're moving forward fairly quickly, I understand, but I could sit here and describe a bunch of really cool things that have happened to me, but I think the coolest thing that has happened to me, or the coolest thing that may happen to you as a result of this practice, is the ability to drive into work in the morning and listen to a song and enjoy your morning coffee without thinking about the mistake of the previous day. It's the ordinary experience. It's the ordinary experiences like that this practice is really able to bring about the ability to come back to the present moment and enjoy life. The cultivation of this, the cultivation of mindfulness of the breath, has been the cornerstone to continuing to experience peace and contentment on this earth. So with that, I know we're going over time a little bit already, and there's a whole lot more that can be said on this. But in short, that's all the practice is continuing to come back to the present moment, continuing to come back to the breath. For all the answers that I need they're there. With that being said, have a good night.